everybody. My name is Isaac, and I did mine on forestry, arboriculture, and construction. My goals for this project was to learn how to be safe while up in a tree, how to properly fit and use certain of my equipment, and how to mark out and begin a forest harvest plan. And I also learned how to build cabins at the new, sorry about that, at the new Lost Coast camp location, which Tyler might be working there. I also learned how to use new tools and techniques as a hammer. I thought I knew everything about a hammer, apparently not. Improved my acting skills in the Perils of Plastic performance that also Tyler and I performed in. For the forestry part, I learned mapping out the area of work, and that is basically the first thing you do. You go out, you see what type of soil content you have, if it's hard, if it's gloomy, you see what species of trees you have, if you want to cut them or if you don't, and then you see if there's any endangered plants, and then that you would mark as a no-cut zone, and just making sure all your surroundings that you're going to be in is A-OK for the California rules of logging. Then once you have everything out, you make a detailed map of your cut zone, and you make a letter of approval and send it to the county, and once it gets approved, then you can start your cut. My first day, I drove to what I call the Carlotta Mountain Range. I don't know what the mountains are called, we drove there. I saw a bunch of different pieces of equipment. I saw a yarder, I saw a forester, I saw a log loader, and a harvester. I'll explain what these are. A yarder is basically this big piece of equipment with a boom, and it has 3 cables. It runs back and forth from an area to another instead of having to get something like a forwarder, which is basically a machine with a little bucket and then just grabs and picks up the log and moves them to the location. And the yarder makes it so much easier by just dragging it across the area. A log loader is just what it sounds like. It picks up the logs, puts them on the rack at the log mill, and just makes your job easier. And a harvester is actually this piece down here that I actually got to control briefly. As you can see, it has, 16 wheels, and it has a long boom. This piece right there, that grabs the tree, and keep in mind, the biggest diameter tree you can grab is a 30-inch diameter, but I got to grab something like a 16-inch or something. But basically, you use your arm and your other little grabby thing to grab the tree and cut it into bits. My bad. What is that? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. And so that is the cab. You just sit in there and just control it. The grips are very ergonomic. You just put your hands on like that, not having to grab anything. A bunch of buttons. It's really weird. You have to press like 3 different buttons to do one single thing like a cut. But overall, it's actually a really fun machine to control. I got to go forwards and backwards a couple feet. It was pretty fun. Then my other side was arboriculture, which is basically climbing trees and limbing them up with all your tools and stuff. Before you go into the tree, you always do an equipment check to see if your rope's frayed, if your knot's tight, make sure you don't slip out of the tree. All your equipment's tight, make sure you have the proper gear, make sure your chain's tight on your saw, make sure your rope's on, everything. Putting everything together. Then you can put everything together. After everything's together and the knot's tied, everything's like that, then I like to do a second equipment check to make sure I'm not falling out of the tree or nothing. And that right there, that piece right there is called a rope wrench. That is a prusik cord, a pulley, and a carabiner. Of course, the carabiner is just going to latch onto your harness. And then you can also, there's 2 other things. Foot harness that you just strap to your boot. And then there's also a knee ascent. I would probably do it all again. It was really fun, especially learning how to run that yarder. Would I make a career out of it? I would probably take the building career. The logging, that, unless I was in a piece of equipment, that takes a big toll on your body. You're walking around with a big chainsaw, cutting off limbs, hiking up mountains. I would do it as a career, possibly, but it wouldn't be my go-to dream. That's basically it. Are there any questions?
There you go. That's it.
Done.
Fucking send it, bud. You start like this, and I'm left-handed, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get myself all clean. So my lead hand, my dominant hand is this one. So this leg is attached to this arm, right? And I can't climb that far, but I'm just gonna go up and down a little bit to show you. So of course you first get started. You want to be about like here. So when I used to speed climb, you go like, like this, but I go slow, I take my time now. So flip, climb, flip, boom, boom. And then you're sitting here.
So what's the rule of thumb? I've been told too, you don't ever want that, you want that rope about right where you're at your waist.
Like this.
You never want your throw rope or your flip line, you don't ever want that below your waist, right?
No, I keep it about here.
And above.
And above. And then so if you fall, you put it in tight. You hold it in. Right? You pull the rope and you pull it in as tight and as hard as you can if you spur out. And that keeps you from falling all the way to the bottom. So that's the other major thing. And so as you can see, this thing's got some taper in it. I already had to pull my line in twice. So this one, two different colors. This one's tight, this one's loose. Boom. And if you need to clean up on the way down, you can put your flip line back around, cut off some things.